Hi, Dr. Regan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? And that's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
But I think everybody wants to be loved and wants to be taken care of and wants to have a great place to work. And I think culture and the branding of your practice is probably something that the problems are going to be there, but that doesn't mean they're insurmountable. Those things can be handled very easily with culture and and good leadership.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Regan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in. Welcome to the 200th episode of Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I am here with my faithful co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson. Chad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Do you want to know what my favorite number is?
No.
17, but don't you wish it was 200? 200 episodes. And Victoria, you and I started it off, and then Regan coasted in, and here we are, 200 episodes in. We have two special guests with us today, Victoria Peterson and Bruce Baird. Dr. Baird, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. And and Victoria, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing great. And little known fact, Chad, if you added up my age and Bruce's age, you would get 200.
200.
Stop.
Did you have to add the 17 in there with it to make it?
But I'm only 52 of those years.
Oh, ouch. Well, Regan, today we have our special guests. What's our topic? What are we wanting to discuss for the listeners today?
A really special treat to honor the co-founders of Productive Dentist Academy. The reason that the podcast exists in the first place, because we wouldn't even be here, you and I, had we not both intersected with Productive Dentist Academy, joined the mission and the force and go forward. So I thought it would be really exciting to, put two wildly successful entrepreneurs who have navigated every storm imaginable in dentistry, who are consistently visionary towards the future, and just sit down with both of you and have a conversation about your journey thus far and what you've learned along the way and where you see us going in the future. So let's rally. Let's give a call to action to our upcoming dentists, because there's a lot of exciting things happening in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is.
Bruce, tell us what challenges do you see in healthcare that we're facing today?
Well, I think it's the same challenges that we've had for a lot longer than most people realize. I mean, it's keeping teams, on board, because it's just things have changed. The personalities and just the way that they grew up is different, and they're looking for different things. But I think everybody wants to be loved and wants to be taken care of and wants to have a great place to work. And I think culture and the branding of your practice is probably something that the problems are going to be there, but that doesn't mean they're insurmountable. Those things can be handled very easily with culture and good leadership.
Bruce, this is really interesting that you said people want to be loved and they want to be taken care of. And I have poured through, at this point, thousands of Google reviews of different dental practices across the United States. And what surprises me time and again is that there is a drastic lack of the dentistry that is performed expressed in those reviews. What is predominantly expressed is how people felt during the examination, being in the practice, how the team made them feel. And I'm wondering, was there like in your journey of going through dentist to multifaceted entrepreneur, was there a significant milestone in your life or a turning point from the early years that kind of set your stage for success and understanding that caring about people and loving people is actually the key to success?
Well, it's a great question, and I've talked about it in years past. But I've always said I was the worst boss. I didn't really when I had pressure of debt and the pressures of being new in practice and all the things and feeling like it was all on my shoulders. Yeah, I was kind of a butthead, and my team. I joke that everybody in Granbury, Texas, about 6,000 of them work for me at one time or another. But I think, God having a sense of humor given me 4 daughters, and I had to learn to speak a different language. And then I started, and it wasn't just that, but it was seeing the response of that for me. It was immediate feedback. People started listening to me. They started coming up and taking some of the load off, and being vulnerable was something that I had never wanted to be. The son of a Marine aviator, you just don't want to be vulnerable. And when I started learning my employees' names and that they had kids and that they had a life besides, me being a butthead to them all day long, that I saw everything start to change. And so was it an epiphany? I don't think it was a single day that it happened, but it was over a period of failing on my part, but not stopping. And finally, I heard this yesterday. I came up with it today too. It's kind of like, winners are just losers who didn't quit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm just not a good boss." Well, if I say I can't, then I must, and that's just been my philosophy. And if I have trouble with something, the only thing I'm really having trouble with now is I say I can't hit my 7-iron and I still can't hit it. And it's just, I'm having trouble on the golf course. But other than that, in life and in the practice of dentistry, having a team that loves you and me loving my team, truly loving them, changes everything. And people go, they're just my team, or I wish I could get somebody who could come in here and do this or do that. No, they're never going to do that for you, until you change that perspective or that thought process. And, even though I put the handpiece down now, I still go up there and get hugs at the office. And it's the brightest part of my week when I drop by there just to say hey to everybody. It really makes me feel good. And, it's just a great opportunity for the team. So,
Victoria, how does that resonate with you?
100%. Bruce started his career as a clinical dentist. I started mine as a hygienist. And I remember waiting for my boards. There's always that awkward space where you graduate, but you've got to work a summer waiting on your board. So I drove 55 miles one way. So 110 miles round trip, 5 days a week to work as a dental assistant. I think I made $150 a week. So now I'll let you figure out what year that was. That wasn't the day before yesterday, right? And it was for a very progressive office. They had the old reel-to-reel computer mainframes in a back room so that the dentist could talk to his son at Georgetown Dental School through Plato. It was the precursor to the internet.
Wow.
And had this room about the size of a 10 by 10 room, freezing to keep that going. And the only thing it did was it ran our schedule. It ran the schedule, and we could type messages back and forth to Georgetown University. So I loved being in a progressive office like that. And the doctors were very hostile. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. And it was back in the days of the amalgam, and they were very fast, everything like this. So I had never really been an assistant. I had only been a hygiene student. And every day he threw instruments at me. And every day he would yell at me. And then said son graduated Georgetown and came to work. And so the privileged prince was in the office.
Yes.
And one day, this little kid was turning purple, then green, and I'm writing Post-it notes like, he's going to throw up, turn down the nitrous. I think we need to turn down the nitrous. And he was like, I'm the doctor. I know, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, the kid tossed his Fruit Loops and all of its brilliant rainbow color. And back then we had carpet in the operatory. And he just slammed down his instruments and said, I can't believe you let that kid get sick. Get down on the carpet with a spoon and clean it all up. And I thought, as a professional, right, as a dental hygienist and a professional, I'm going to expect more from my boss when I get out there. And so from the beginning, I began interviewing who will I work for? And if I'm in a culture like that, how can I impact and change the culture? And later he found out that I had never been an assistant before, kind of apologized. But, there's just this piece of like Bruce said, show up every day and know that we're all just first-time humans trying to get it right. There's no need to make people feel awful. That's not the route to peak performance. You know what I mean? So that could have been a job where I could have accepted a job as a hygienist and continued working there and moved to Jacksonville. But that totally shut me down and said, but here's the strongest piece of advice. I said, Dad, this job's horrible. I'm going to quit. I'm going to come back and work in the gas station with you.
Yeah.
And he said, absolutely not. He goes, make your first job your worst job. Eat the spinach on your plate first, then everything that comes after that will be better. And I'll have to say, 40 years in this field, that's the worst job I've ever had because I learned that I was worth more. And I think if people learn to speak up for what they're worth and demand more of their doctors, then like Bruce says, they'll have a wake-up call and things can get better.
It's cool. I just finished a book last night called Humbled. And even above it, it's not the subtitle of the book, but above the book, it's got a 5-star rating and it just shows 2 of the stars lit up. And it's cool that it's talking about humility and how even the Bible talks about being sober-minded, not having this superficial, lowly opinion of yourself. Well, I'm just the worst, but a right opinion about yourself, not too high, not too low, just right. You are a human and you're only so good. And what Bruce, what you said, and Victoria, you said, the harmony between the two was having a humble attitude. And I feel like, I'm learning that more and more, just even as my third office that I had opened didn't succeed. That was a good humbling experience. And I almost think that was a turning point for me to realize I'm like, I've been a lot more humble after that. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad humble. Like sometimes, you tail between the legs kind of stuff. Fine, fair enough. But this has been a good thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think with all the consolidation in dentistry and the focus on numbers and metrics and management, I think it's all about the people. And people are starting to come around to it's all about the people. It's all about the patients that, and taking great care of people.
Right.
So what are some of on that note, as dentistry has evolved over the last 30 plus years, what are some of the innovations that you have seen that have made what you would consider a significant impact in our industry?
Oh, wow. Like the high-speed handpiece. No, I'm not going to say that.
I was going to say my hair used to get, I had a manual chair with that old belt-driven slow speed piece that your hair would get caught in, no gloves.
Bruce, did you ever use belt-driven?
No, I didn't. We had high-speed hand pieces, even with fiber optics back in 1976. So they were new and they would burn out about every, 2 months. But it still was a whole lot better than chiseling. And so that was better. But there's been so much technology. There's actually, from CBCT to implants. I mean, I started placing implants in 1984. That field has just exploded with all types of opinions and thoughts about what's the right way of doing things and what's the wrong way. Now you have printing technology, you have scanning, you have, and the technology just keeps getting better and better. And I think it's even on a faster churn now than it was probably from 1980 to about 90. Things were, they were advancing, and, we were learning a lot of new things, but all of a sudden the technology has just blown up. AI is going to change the way we look at diagnosis and treatment planning. It doesn't mean a machine's going to do it. It just means a machine's going to look at 50,000 x-rays and say, this is like that. And this is what we recommend. And what's interesting is insurance companies, who you guys all know I love insurance companies, that they're going to require it. They're not going to do a crown, or they're not going to do a whatever unless you have a backup from AI. So, things are changing rapidly as far as technology.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with the technology. I'd also piggyback that dentistry is outpacing so many other healthcare sectors because of things like the HIV outbreak in the 80s. So we became far more bloodborne pathogen and airborne pathogen ready in the 80s and 90s. So when COVID hit, it's ironic that dentistry was shut down, and yet we're the most prepared healthcare providers to handle patients who had COVID.
Absolutely.
And having nitrous chasers and all the precautions that we have in the office for clean air and HEPA filters and airborne bloodborne pathogens, we should have been the last ones they shut down.
Yeah.
So I think the technology is truly what's continuing to innovate it. And the other piece that really changed, Bruce, remember where a general dentist didn't do prosthetics at all. And root canals took 8 visits. Prosthetics would take a year and a half. Now we can do same-day smile. We can do a 2-week turnaround. We can print, and your temporaries look better.
Yeah.
Your temporaries today look better than the finished product of the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, you can print them not in 2 weeks. You can print them in 22 minutes. That's what really freaks you out. You just shake your head and go, "Oh my gosh!"
I hope the speed of change also keeps it affordable, right? And opening up credit to patients so more people can take advantage of it.
I agree 100%.
One of the things that I love about both of you so much is your dedication to patient care. And you've always placed such priority on comprehensive care. What in our times today, because we can get caught up in the insurance debate, and healthcare in general tends to be very polarizing. What is exciting right now for patients when it comes to patient care? Because I know myself, going to an independent medical practice, I am renewed with enthusiasm and excitement, and I'm back in the mindset of anything is possible for my health. Anything can happen. What do you see happening in dentistry right now that our dentists can use, and really fuel that conversation and help patients feel the same way?
Well, I personally think it's probably 2 things. One is the oral systemic connection. And the other is using risk factors to actually help patients understand that they do have a problem, and these problems can be life-threatening or life-changing. And we can back it with, you don't have to back it with all the research articles for most patients, unless they're an engineer. But for most, if they trust you, and you're very well versed in all of these areas, they're going to trust you. They're going to listen carefully. When you make recommendations, it's not going to be, "Oh, he's just trying to sell me another crown." He's trying to help me, because if I don't get this taken care of, I have an increased risk of stroke or heart attack or whatever that is. And when people realize, I always joke, It's not my problem, And I go into the exam honestly knowing it's not my problem what this patient has, but it is my problem if I don't tell them that they have a problem. When I had all the education, all the training, gone to all the courses, and refuse because I'm scared or embarrassed or I'm not a good communicator to tell them what really is going on. And so that's really the thing that I'm excited about, is what Productive Dentist Academy does, and what we teach is, hey, we're going to give you the tools to be able to be honest without, because it's not a good feeling when people leave and you should have told them this, or you should have, and you don't, for whatever reason. And so we're just committed to always, and I think, Victoria, you always bring up the ADA Code of Ethics. I mean, we're supposed to tell them what's going on. And I've always told them, when I first started doing it, it was really uncomfortable because I just wasn't well versed at it. But again, failure is just a learning experience. And so that's probably the thing I'm most excited, is that not only can we help patients by giving them a beautiful smile, but we may be able to save their life.
Mm-hmm. Victoria?
Yeah, I love that. And this is a trend that'll probably take 10 years to fully form. I'm always 5 to 10 years out, but I see the seeds of it today. So building on the oral systemic, I'm going to always be a hygienist at heart. I love being an entrepreneur. I love building businesses, because a profitable, thriving business gives you the opportunity to take great care of people. That's always going to be my mantra. But I love how many hygienists are going back and getting their certification as nutritionists and functional health coaches and things like that. I see doctors who are getting Ayurvedic certifications. They're becoming naturopaths, or they're bringing naturopaths into their practice. Because when you really start focusing on airway issues, you get into myofascial and craniosacral work, and you realize, it was insurance companies in the 1950s that cut the head off from the rest of the body. Right. And so it was an arbitrary financial decision that the mouth did not impact the whole body. But like your partner, Jeff, Bruce, I remember when Dr. Busky was working with my mom on her headaches and her splint, he's doing muscle testing. The same fascia that connects your TMJ to your head, to your neck, runs all the way down. So if you're not spinally aligned, and you lock in somebody's bite, they're going to have a back that hurts the rest of their life. We're really getting beyond even oral systemic into functional medicine. And boy, oh boy, for doctors who are breaking their backs, turning a handpiece, get focused on people being healthy. And these connections between medical and dental, the electronic patient record bridges are being built right now. So medical is coming into dental. Do you guys get that? Like dental's kind of
finally. Finally.
They're coming in like a cyborg to take us over. So better get ready and position yourself into a strong play, because, the Kaiser Permanentes and all of this are like, well, geez, this is like outside insurance and fee for service, and people pay for this stuff. So
right.
I thought you meant they just get to communicate better and share information easier.
And that's where I'd love it to stay. And that's where it stay, but capitalism gets in there everywhere. So I would just say, man, be on the leading edge and think, this is a person sitting in front of me. And Chad, better than I do. I don't know any of this stuff. I read about it, but there's tongue mapping, and there's just different things that will point you to every organ in your body. And that sort of stuff is now starting to mainstream. It doesn't seem like reading tarot cards anymore, right? And I wish we had more. I hope AI is going to come in and help with that. Like ophthalmology can read your eyes and talk about stroke risk and things like that. Yeah. We're going to have tools like that for the oral cavity.
Well, Victoria, you mentioned it, and Bruce, you sure know it firsthand, but I thought of airway when you asked it, Regan. That airway's changed a lot. And that has to do, again, with the systemic issue. But even on a smaller level, though it has systemic ramifications, I think of like the microbiome ecology balance, not just killing germs, because that was kind of the old school, but like
That's right.
that we're talking about an ecological balance of a good bacteria and bad bacteria in your mouth for two main reasons: periodontal health and caries risk. So, Bruce, you turned me on to using the CTX carie-free products, and that's been a game changer. But then even personally getting my airway addressed, even though I'm mild OSA, I sleep better. And then I've been doing mouth taping. I mean, like stuff that, I don't know, I just wouldn't have seen coming. And Regan, we talked about that a few episodes ago. But I thought, well, why wait until it's pathological? Let's do it where I'm improving my health just because I want an improved health.
I could jump out of my skin. I could jump out of my skin. I cannot believe. And to Bruce and Victoria, this is nothing new to you. You both have been innovators. And I've only been in the industry about 12 years, but to be speaking next week in Houston down at an airway summit for dentists so that they can learn how to, bring it into the practice so they can be preventative, I think is something that helps us bring that balance back, Victoria, that you were talking about. My doctor has said to me, and Bruce, this goes to you, saying we've got to be brave about telling people what we see. They said, would you like us to tell you what we see now so that you can prevent what's going to pretty much happen in the future? Or do you want to wait until the event happens and then we deal with the ramifications of that? What would you prefer?
Perfect.
Right?
I love it. That is the story. Hey, it's not my problem, but I'm sure want to help you if you really want to be helped.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.